Today I will be talking more about toolpaths, for lack of a better word, or linear gaps, more of those that we saw in the last episode. I was going to do streaks, but I found a bunch more of this toolpath type of phenomenon, so I'm going to cover a bunch more of that stuff and then some miscellaneous topics as well. So, we are in Peru at Lake Junin, not quite sure how to pronounce that, Lake Junin in Peru, and we have these straight underwater lines here. This one in particular I want to focus on. It's like a channel that extends under the lake. You see, I believe you see a change of direction, and let's just follow it here. So you see it's kind of cutting alongside whatever land is here, or right through it. Looks like it might have grown back over. Keep following it north. And it's interesting because if you keep following it north, it's as if, kind of lose it for a little bit. Maybe it's right here. It's as, oh yeah, here it is. You see the edge of it here? So it's right there, kind of faint, but you can make it out. It's as if the rest of this river up here, see it kind of turns into a river. It's as if this may actually be an extension of whatever created this this right here. So this path or channel, whatever you want to call it. So it keeps going up here. You could kind of see the faint edge of it there. Keeps going, and then again, it's pretty faint in some places, but it's not hard to imagine that the you can kind of see the inside edge of it there. That the rest of the river here might actually be artificial. You can kind of see it just kind of cutting through there. Oh, and these bumps. Possible dirt piles from when this channel was dug or something like that. You know, they dug out the material or something did, and then put the excess material along the side. These bumps here. Could be. So if you follow it, it looks, well, the width varies. I'm just wondering if this river isn't, maybe it was an artificial river originally, and then a natural river kind of formed around it and made more natural patterns, or the other way around maybe. And incidentally, we've got these squiggly patterns in this whole area. Not quite sure what that is. There's very weird textures in this whole area. Got these lines across. I'll show you some other stuff as well. And this entire area here, it has lots of random straight lines, or random like remains of walls or remains of channels or some type of feature. You can see right here, something came through that way. Looks like. Here's another one. Some of them are more straight. Some of them are like straight for a while, and then it turns natural again, and then straight again. So it's pretty weird stuff. See, this is a good example. Kind of an overgrown channel here. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe this whole area had something interesting going on, like a whole city or something, I don't know. And then there was an operation to remove, basically just cover up the existence of that or remove that whole whatever was here. And it was just, and these lines we see, maybe these are the final maneuvers to get rid of what was here, whatever was here. It's possible. Or these are like the footprint of like the bottom of a wall, or like the foundation of a building, or these were streets or channels, or it's irrigation or modern drainage or something. But the more you look at it, it's just kind of the remains of something. It doesn't look like modern. It's in modern use. Like, what is that? You see these faint lines all throughout this whole area. Not quite clear what made that. Overgrown with whatever's growing in that area. Yeah, lots of miscellaneous straight lines and stuff. The main thing I wanted to point out was the main channel here, or the main toolpath, or whatever you want to call it. I thought that was a pretty good example, because it's not natural, and if it's recent modern work, then like, what's its purpose, you know? Could have been like a mining machine, like, you know, like one of those big, huge mining machines that travels, you know, along the bottom looking for some gold or something. I don't know. Let's measure this real quick. I think it's about 100 feet across. Yeah, about 100 feet, 33 meters. So, could be anything. And this whole area has this strange patchy pattern as well. These hills, very strange markings or texture, something on the ground that it's not quite clear what's going on there. It's a pretty vast area that you see that. See if there's any other things I want to show you. Just more of the same. More of these lines. Could be fishing routes. Something like that. More strange pattern here. See if you look closely, it's pretty weird. Kind of haphazard, pseudo-organized. And there's people right here doing their thing too, so keep that in mind. More of this weird pattern. A lot of this. See this all over. This pattern here. Okay, but that's not really the topic. Okay, so interesting example. And another good example I wanted to show was in the Amazon over here in Brazil. You have what looks like some kind of toolpath or something stopping and starting. So let me hide my place marks real quick. So here we are, it's Brazil. This is what, I think this is traditional deforestation. But you also have, where'd it go? This guy. So what is that? It's a long, fairly straight linear groove, and you see it stops and starts. See, it resumes over here, and then picks up across the river over here, And it's not just one, you see faint, see here. This one's off axis, so this looks like another maneuver. And you see multiple, I mean, could it be a fault line or something? It's possible. Let's keep following it here. Something there. So it's as if something was, some more here. I'm just very curious what created that. It's as if something was traveling from above and touching down in intervals periodically. Like, I don't know, taking soil samples or something. Turn the place marks back on. See some different spots. There's another one. To me, it doesn't look natural. I could be wrong, but let's see. See more of that here. Here you see two of them. See it continuing down here. Is that natural? I don't know. It looks like something was touching down from above. Okay, pretty cool example. What else? Long groove continues. There's a pretty cool example here. Continues across the river. Don't know. Okay, let's move on. So I showed you this thing in Australia, pretty interesting. I found some more stuff along the way, just down the way from that. So can kind of see a similar thing here, as if, well, maybe there, but I'm referring to like right here, and possibly came up this way, possibly up this way, and this curve right here, just to kind of give you an idea of the surrounding area, put it in context. Okay, and then another one just a little bit further along is this guy. See kind of like a little straight jetty there, that side as well. And again, I'm not quite sure how this occurred, what created it, what type of maneuver, or if it's natural, but it just helps to put this other cool example in context, I think. So you got that to look at, and you have this to look at. Actually, I found a couple other things in this general area along the coast, so I wanted to do a take a more thorough look at this area, just to give these case studies context and help figure out what's going on there. Okay, so what do we got here? Here's the cool one, the coolest one, I think. And then down the way we have a possible short gap. And what I mean there is not a great example. This one's pretty subtle, but see, there's kind of an edge there, as if something came up through the middle here, created a path there. Okay, let's move along, see what we see. And here's a better example. Possible gap there. And let's check that out. edge of it here, edge of it there, and possibly came out this way like that, or like this. Kind of seeing an edge there, possibly. All right. Showed you that already. Here's kind of a wide strip extending out, almost like the inverse of what the other example was. This, instead of a gap, it's like a strip of land. Kind of curves out. That's kind of interesting. Maybe something traveled alongside it, or maybe it's, you know, completely natural. That would make sense. Just to be analyzed alongside the others. This one, and then possible gap here. Let's see, kind of something, the edge of it there, maybe came through like this. Could be. And here, see the edge here, and kind of a gap in the middle. You know, maybe something was going all along the coast here, making edits or performing some type of operation. Okay, what else we got? Okay, here we go. We have, oh, I almost thought I saw something out here, but tough to say. We have this right here. Looks like we might be looking at the edge of a toolpath or some type of narrow channel or something. Or a natural feature, again, could always be that. Or modern something. Maybe it's a government project, I mean, who knows? Okay. Interesting. Oh, we kind of see, we'll see something there as well. See what I'm talking about? Possibly. Faint toolpath. Okay, here's an interesting one. Arg. So it's as if something traveled like this. See the edge of it there, edge of it there. Kind of see faint, very faint edges of it there, almost continuing here. Very difficult to see, but kind of like that. And you kind of lose it in the clouds and the shadow there. Okay. And then, okay, so this comes up here. You can see the edge of it there. Goes along the coast, and you kind of see some rocks here or something. Could even just be like a kelp growth pattern or something like that. I don't know. And then this might be the edge of it. Okay, so I think that's all the examples I wanted to show along the coast here. I found another place that is similar to these Australian examples. Should help give more context for examples like this stuff. So it's over here on Bougainville Island. Never heard of it, but whatever. Okay, so this general area here We have these kind of linear-ish paths, or looks like a former path, like something traveled along. See here, here, and could be completely natural, of course, or modern work. Where else? Let's kind of see subtle paths, or little bits of land jutting out, different color than the surrounding area. So who knows what caused that? But it's kind of similar to that Australia example, so hopefully it should at least, I don't know, shed some light on what may be the cause or the nature of it. See these here, kind of all along the coast here. Multiple examples. Over here as well. Got that. Pretty similar. Again, might just be the natural pattern of the rock, or a natural erosion pattern. Here. I see something there, maybe like that. Okay, so it's plenty of examples. Show you some more stuff. And incidentally, this whole area is crisscrossed like this, with this, I don't know, grid or these faint lines. It's vast area of Australia, and it could be surveying, or foot trails or logging or whatever, but just pointing that out. Okay. Some miscellaneous examples, not necessarily going to stay on topic right now, although there will be some more linear gaps. Possibly this guy. All right. Here's a clean tree line. I'm pointing out, see, it looks like something came through this way, along here, and out here. So it traveled along this way, maybe even across over here. Let's see, possibly. And kind of see a similar line there. Okay, and similar thing here, kind of. And just a very clean, abrupt tree line, which I think is weird. Okay. Streaks along coast. Gonna cover that next time. Long, wide streak. Not covering that today. Linear streaks. Kind of cool. Linear. Almost like a linear path of something. Okay. So here I wanted to show these underwater, the darker areas. Could be natural flow, or it could also be similar to what we've seen before with like something approaching the coastline and taking portions of it away. So just wanted to look at it in context. You see more of it there, but that looks more flowy. It's tough to say. Kind of see it there as well. Yeah, it could all be natural. I don't know. Here. Same thing-ish. Okay. Okay, so Papua, this island, is very strange, especially this whole area, so I'll show you some things. This is pretty cool. So we're at this area of Papua, and there's this line, this path of sorts, or ridge, or groove, whatever you want to call it, or whatever it is. And along it, we have these very odd patterns. I mean, this whole area here is covered in these goofy, although this might be people right here, but these overgrown goofy patterns, and they get real weird. See how weird that is? And it's miscellaneous too. There's different patterns. There's like, I don't know, this is almost like a space filling curve. Not really, but kind of resembles it. And or almost kind of fingerprinty, like dermal ridges, similar to. I don't think that's what it is. And modern activity here. Are they doing all of this? Possibly. I mean, it could all be these dudes doing a logging project all the way down here, but some of the other stuff you see in this whole area is just too weird. So this is a long straight path here, filled with weird grooves. Very odd. And more of this area here. Again, this whole vast area is covered in stuff like this. So here I am referring to these faint streaks going this way. What could that be? I don't know. Zigzag, this one's really cool. See that? Zig and zag. So it's like some texturing algorithm, or it's like an AI was asked to perform some weird function and spit out some gibberish. This whole area. Let's just measure this area real quick. Miles, I do miles. Okay, so it's not that big. It's 50 miles, 30 miles. Yeah. So here we have multiple things going on. Same general area. We have faint lines going this way, and then also at a right angle more or less going the other way. And then we also have these flowy streaks going on. This kind of branchy streaks, whatever that is. Kind of start and stop, or it's covered by the dirt. These flowy streaks with streaks over them. Okay. More of that patchy stuff, and you can see it stopping and starting, like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. and in pretty somewhat irregular, flowy, kind of flowy but kind of rigid pattern. Extremely weird. Again, I don't know why pilots don't chime in more with this observation. Speculating here whether this riverway is carved out. Okay. Same deal. Same country. I'm not going to wait for it. These are some very clean streaks along the coast. Just makes me wonder if something carved across here somehow. This is a part of Australia, and you see like streaks across. Could be from a glacier or who knows what. I think we're in Pakistan. Just wondering if this jetty thing is natural or, I mean, not natural, but recent or old and repurposed to be recent. Okay. Not a stellar example. Pretty interesting. Same area of Papua. I'm pointing out the melty, runny look. Could be from floods. No real reason to suspect it's not. Other than all the weird shit we've seen. But this in particular may be completely just from the weather doing its thing. Linear gash here, although it should be looked at in context of this stuff. This might be modern activity, although pretty weird. Looks like overgrown old weird patterns, possibly. Lighting's not great. Okay, so I'm just remarking here the streaks, crossing streaks in different directions. It's kind of interesting. Like these streaks just kind of look like they go haywire. You see what I mean? In a bunch of different directions. Okay. All right. Abandoned rice paddies or something else? Don't know. Much streakness. Again, very kind of haywire pattern. Pretty cool, actually. Pretty cool looking. In conjunction with other streaks or lines in multiple right angle directions. Blah, blah. Big surprise. Goofy lines, patterns, yep, very squirrely and weird, wiggly, strange, goofy. Interesting streaks here, kind of ending up, oh, who knows why they end. Kind of an angular tree line here. And just remarking on this coastal gap or path here. Could be a road or a riverway, I don't know. Interesting. Again, I think this thin lip of trees is slightly strange, and you see a narrow gap or channel there. It's pretty odd. If that's a legit render, that's such a weird angle. Don't you think that's such a weird way for the river to turn? Again, very clean lip of trees on the edge there. And yeah, I just think like these kind of goofy curves along the coast here. It looks, makes me think this river is just phony. Here the mountains are taking a path that almost looks like something traveled along here. Won't dwell on that too long. This whole island here is streaky. We have a little island, one of the Palau Islands. Just remarking that this is a pretty abrupt angle there to that coast. And then we have what looks like some type of path here. See that? Not quite sure what did that. Looks like it might end right there. Looks like it goes on that way. And maybe even this thing too. Not quite sure what this is. That's harder to decipher. And then another of the same right here. See, it's like a path. And here I'm remarking on these large-scale streaks across. And here we kind of see one. It's kind of straight, faint groove there. See what I mean? Okay. It's interesting. Same island, just down the way. So here we see multiple directions meeting of streaks going this way, or lines, or grooves, whatever, and then the other way as well. And that might be natural, like geological layers eroding in a particular way. I don't know. We see a more flowy pattern to it. So I mean, it's not as if these are perfectly straight and parallel, but still it's not clear what they even are. All right. Okay, so we have this this area here, which is all patchy and has these weird brown spots and all this stuff too. And then the edge of it is like, I think that's what I'm referring to. The edge of it is kind of abrupt, as if it was, see what I mean? This, as if it was created with some type of pass through with something. You can kind of see like tracks or grooves or something went through here, you see? It kind of differentiates this whole area from this whole area. And some areas don't load. Okay, pattern. Same deal here, same spot. And here we see these linear, angular ends to these maneuvers. Long rectangles. Wicked. Here, streaks. I think we're in Aussie. Nope, yep. These streaks along the coast are submerged underwater. They're almost angular. It's tough to say. It's pretty faint, but it's almost like an angle that way, kind of. Or multiple directions meeting. Difficult to say. Just down the way. Possible angular end to that feature there. Could be a coincidence or just natural. And this whole island with terracing. Or so it looks like. It's very strange. What island is this? Via, or I don't know, whatever it is. And I just wanted to throw out this speculation that perhaps columnar basalt is, well, some people are saying it's like petrified old trees, like giant trees. I definitely think that's possible. Maybe the best explanation, or one of the top several. I'm saying it could also be one of many build materials that was used to create the surface of the world. Could be. That's pretty, I don't really have evidence for that. It's just a thought. And then this 360 photo, see very strange looking rock, like these grooves, or like it's like it was formed in a weird way. Pretty weird. Keep losing my spot. Linear, somewhat linear streaks or gouges going across. These might also be like layers of rock. It's going counter to the other patterns we're seeing. Multiple directions here. Angular change of direction in the ocean floor. I'm not covering too much ocean floor stuff because it's so obvious and you can just see it anywhere, like whatever all this is. I don't know. This is Dana Point, California again. I just found another, looks like possible tool path there. Maybe there as well. Almost looks like kind of a round feature there. Possible tool paths. Okay. It's pretty cool, just down the way from there. And we have kind of linear edge or groove in these rocks, which travels along here. And it is in the rock. I mean, this is rock here. Sorry. So this is a path carved through the rock. Could be modern, you know, the city wants to make the beach look nice, so they decided to do this. That could be. Faint feature underwater. Let's see, two features meeting at a point. Interesting. Okay. This is in the Mediterranean, and I'm just remarking on these bumps underwater. It looks like Braille, like what blind people used to read. Interesting. Could just be a rendering thing. Somewhere in the Mediterranean still, and kind of see possible path here. Not sure why the water looks different than the water here and here. Again, that might be a rendering thing. Maybe. Multiple gaps here. Could just be geological or something passed through there. Here, kind of. This is a better look. A better example. Looks like something passed over this way. See what I mean? There's kind of a shallow bit of rock there remaining in the middle. So this is the island of Ponza, Mediterranean somewhere near Italy. And I think this is an arc, and I will compare it to something in, I'll show you some images in a bit. Okay. Linear edge of rock here with kind of a right angle there. Man, it's really hard to see with these place marks in the way. It's a good view of it. Whatever caused that. Kind of a linear edge there as well. I don't know, kind of a gap there. Maybe a path through here. And then just down the right near that might be another path. And these are arches, so with holes in them, so it's as if something passed right through. path, gap, maybe. Oh, this is really cool. It's in Italy somewhere, and can see a rectangle of something, some old structure underwater here. Just chilling out in the open. Romans did it. Remember? Submerged, whatever it was. Is it the footprint of a building that was like cut flat or something like that? You know what I mean? Or is it just a low wall? This looks like a kind of a gap or a path of something here. And this reminds me of something in California, if I can find it. Let's see. Okay, here we are. Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay in California. And on the edge of the coast here, we have this structure here peeking out of the cliffside. And is this a modern build? Does it extend underneath, within the cliff under this building? Is it the foundation of this building that just eroded away because the cliffside was lost to weathering in the last couple decades? That could be. It's not clear what this is, so it would be cool to go look. Okay, so that was some drone footage of the some close-up of this thing here. You can make up your own mind what you think about it. You can see that this one is like metal, this pillar. So it's I mean I don't know, not sure. But another thing I noticed while I was watching these videos was this the straightness of the rocks here. I just thought this would be a good opportunity to evaluate that phenomenon. So you see it here, and I'll show you some different angles of it. Kind of a straight line there, and you'll see it better in a minute. Let's give you some different views there, and kind of here. See that? Nice and straight there. It's kind of the way the natural rock in the area just looks like it goes naturally, how it flows and how it's laid out. So I can't just jump right in and say I'm saying it's artificially crafted. But I just thought it would be interesting to look at as a case study. And so this is down the way, just north of it, similar stuff. And okay, so here it's gonna swoop around, and I'll focus on this right here. So let it play. And pretty cool. And then what I wanted to point out was this right here. See, it's kind of almost like a path or a line there. And then this little lip or shelf or the edge of the rock, it's got kind of ridges along it like that. And it's kind of flat on the edge here. So like almost like it was the edge of some of those cart ruts we've seen, or alleged cart ruts around the world. Possibly, I'm just asking the question. Almost like something traveled along there. Okay. Get a better look at those mini ridges there. Okay. What else? All right, and then I'll show you some Google Maps stuff, or some similar stuff along the coast here in Google Maps, because there's some interesting stuff. So let's check it out. Here we are. Here's that structure thing, and this is what it looks like from Google Maps. Then there's a couple things I wanted to point out. Blah blah. Seen that? What did I want to show? Possible straight line from Toolpath, maybe. Maybe another one there. One there, maybe. But again, let me go back in front of the hotel and show you. This is kind of the way the rock goes in the area. That's what it looks like. Kind of the natural flow of the bedrock or whatever. Or surface rock, I don't know what it's called. This gap here kind of looks artificial, like something, assuming it's an accurate render, as if something traveled along the side here. And you see these wavy changes of direction in the rock. And this may explain some of the streakiness and the so-called gaps we're seeing, or the linear features. It's kind of an abrupt angle there. So this could be like volcanic, like there's an altitude change or a height change here, and it was like lava flowing downhill and then this way and then that, I don't know. Something like that. And yeah, this is like a kind of an oval one. Not necessarily artificial at all. I'm just comparing it to give context to what I'm talking about. This is pretty cool. This might just be an image glitch. But you see the angular rock here. So I'm not sure if that's a glitch or if that's actually how the rock looks. Okay, gonna see it on this side as well. All right, this I'll get to in a second. And then, see, this is what that streaky rock looks like in the ocean floor, where it kind of changes directions. It's a nice little parabola here. Not quite sure how that would have formed. Just, again, just because I can't quite explain it doesn't mean it's not readily explained. And I'm sure there's some Wikipedia article on it. I don't know, just pointing it out, noteworthy. It's important to look at stuff like that for context, I think. Right angle, almost. Maybe, maybe not. Tough to say, kind of straight, but I don't know. What else here? Maybe another tool gap, tool path. There's the land here, and then land continues out to here, possibly, but something, maybe something traveled through there. Could be. Okay, so these bumps, I wanted to point these out. Is there anything else? Oh, this is interesting. Over by the, we're getting towards San Francisco Bay here. Straight edges to these rocks here, pretty straight. But again, another straight one, parallel, poking out there. Could be the natural flow of the rock. This kind of looks like little bites taken out of it. I'm not the best presenter, I know. I'm just kind of asking freestyle questions. But maybe I'll put some music behind it to keep you awake. So these are some ruins. Pretty cool. Some old walls. And this is off the California coast, right next to San Francisco. So you've got, I think you can see brick there. Let's see if there's a better spot. See these old walls here. There's more over here as well. Yeah, whatever that is. Sutro Baths. And you can kind of see what I'm calling the old grid pattern. Not sure if it's showing up, but I saw it the other day. All right, well, whatever. Could be old ruins of some sort. I think it was this photo. Yeah, you see these marks here. Similar to stuff we've seen elsewhere. And possibly more ruins here, right along the coast. And this maze thingy, I would guess this is someone's like art project or whatever. Modern, but who knows? Huh. Let's see, what is that? Some circle things. It's pretty interesting actually. I don't know what that is. Probably modern. Okay, so these bumps, where are they? These bumps are interesting. I don't know what to call them, ridges, the little lumpy edge of the bump of the path here, or the streak. See more of it kind of all around. And I just wanted to point that out because it's reminiscent of in the Gulf of Mexico. Actually, well, I'll go there in a second, but there's this place in California, Southern California. So you see this quite a few places, kind of bumps along a path. And I'm not quite sure if this is the place I was looking for. There we go. So you see these channels and stuff, like this one right here. This channel with these bumps on the side, and it's not quite like the one we were looking at a second ago, up by Half Moon Bay in San Francisco, but it's worth noting because it's kind of, I was hypothesizing that this might be a big squid tentacle, and these are like the what do you call them, suckers. But and then I thought kind of makes more sense that whoever dug this ditch was putting piles of dirt that they dug out onto the side. Like as they were digging the ditch, they just dumped the dirt on the side in dirt piles. That makes more sense. It's still pretty weird looking. It wouldn't surprise me if it's ancient rather than modern, or at least older than we're told. And then we see, this is a more windy pattern, but along the Gulf Coast and all of the East Coast, we see a similar thing. Although you don't see the bumps on the East Coast so much. Well, maybe you do, I just didn't find them. But see these kind of bumpy things along this channel, which is thousands of miles long, and I'm doubting is modern. I would guess that this has been edited in modern times and renovated, these channels, and various kinds of upkeeping, but I don't think it was originally created by our modern chapter of American history. So you've got these very large bumps on the side of this, which I have a tough time explaining. Along the edge there as well, or this offshoot, this little channel. Hard to explain. I don't really know what to make of it. Maybe you have a theory. Yeah, so I don't know if this is also considered the intercoastal waterway. It might still be that, but along the East Coast, that's what they call it, the intercoastal waterway, or something like that. And it definitely has modern work. Oh, we do see the bumps. Definitely has modern work going on. But you see this long channel going all along the East Coast. And yeah, you do see these bumps here. So it could be the dirt from when they were digging the channel and they just dumped it on the side. Sounds logical. And see more of it here. Pretty cool. Great. Okay, let's move on. And in Italy, we have these little walls all along. I'm wondering if those are modern, or do you have it going here too? Is that modern, or is it old something or other? Okay, so just down the way, Italian coast. And you see these kind of looks like gaps here, or edges of a path. You know, like something went here and then went that way, this way and this way, changed directions. Kind of a curve there. This is an Italian island, I think. And there's this building here, or this part of it that doesn't render. So I think that's interesting. So there's this Penguin 24 user They created a model, but it's not displaying, so I don't know why. Could be totally innocent. Unless, if that's rendering right, it might be a path there, linear path. I don't know if that's a rendering thing or not, but it looks like a linear path there. Tough to say. Path there, maybe? Or just the way the rock is. Let's move on. Australia, thin bit of land that doesn't, I don't know why that would be there. Pretty weird. This is a good example. Okay, so you see the edge of this here. And then this edge as well. It's like something came through here. Like that. Maybe like that as well. This is an extension of that same move. Maybe. Several right-angled rocks could have broken like that naturally. Don't know. This looks a little more blatant, like this whole island is. See these? Scrape this way, scrape this way, scrape, scrape. Scrape. Path there. And these nice sweeps, scoops. Oh, this is cool. See right here. Get rid of this. I mean, that's the path of something. Does it continue? Possibly. See similar wavy stuff on the surface of the island. Okay. Again, could be the way the rock is. But you see these kind of gougy paths. All right. Faint parallel streaks here going across. This is a decent example off of Australia. Let's hide that. So just this little nub here. And you see that. Again, could be a surfacing. Just one little area of the rock is surfacing, and this is just the natural flow of the rock. The direction of it. Similar stuff there. Or something passed through. Don't know. So this may or may not be like, you know, the tool sweep I've talked about, or some kind of sweep along the coast. And then either here it either enters or exits that maneuver, like through here. Kind of like that, maybe. This isn't a particularly clean example, but it's possible, and you can compare it to some other stuff I've shown you, and I'll show you some more. So maybe something traveled through here. Or, you know, it cracked naturally, the rock, and drifted away or something like that. Okay. Here we have two faint gouges, possibly. So we have what looks like kind of a clean swept region of coast. Either that or the erosion just naturally, water erosion just naturally kind of rounds it and makes it look clean. Of course, that's possible. But I'm pointing out these faint kind of edges here. Possible, I don't know. Sweep up this way, up this way. It's subtle, and maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something. And of course, it should be looked at in context of all these other things, these little ridges. You know, it might just be natural, something or other. Let's look at the historical photos. Looks pretty similar 10 years ago. Looks pretty much the same. Okay. Okay, I really like this example. It's in Venezuela, I believe. Okay, so we've got this kind of swept looking like, looks like a windshield wiper sweep here. And let's take a closer look. One of the main things I want to point out is this kind of angle here. It's like it was doing multiple swipes or sweeps, maneuvers. Kind of see something there, possible path there. And then you see kind of an abrupt end right along here. So it ends pretty abruptly there. And you see these streaks, which may be the edges of, I don't know, some type of brush stroke type tool maneuver. Like, you see that? That. And see some faint parallel lines here. Let's go back and compare that to these two faint gouges we just looked at. So we've got these, whatever that is, and then here we have these faint parallel lines. These kind of streaks here. And if you look closely, you can kind of see some angular, abrupt ends to, I don't know, you could call it a tool stroke or something like that. This is kind of angular as well. Let's look at the other side. Ends over here, kind of a linear end to it there, not quite, but semi-abrupt. I just like this example. It looks like a windshield wiper swipe. And I included this in, I updated my Reddit post, or made a new one that's similar, and I'll just show you real quick. So here's the post, and similar to the other Reddit posts I showed, but I included some different examples. This Australian one I included. This guy right here. This Peru, Lake Junin. I think that's a good example. This guy, this windshield wiper sweep. I think that's a pretty cool example. This one I'll show you in a minute. It's a good example. See it there. And then of course these crisscrossed islands are pretty cool. So I think this is kind of more shareable at this point than my YouTube videos, because my YouTube videos are kind of long. So, well, I guess this is kind of a long post too, but this is a good place, like a starting point if you want to share this material with people. So there's a link in the description. Multiple very round islands. Okay, where are we? I believe Texas or Mexico. So you have these round islands here, kind of oval shaped. And I'm saying those are not, well, you see these channels here. I mean, was there really a reason? If this is a modern channel, was there really a reason to like make an offshoot and then make a perfectly oval sweep around the island? Maybe there was. Kind of see similar thing here, not quite as clean. But, well, and then we could also make that same argument, well, if it's some ancient terraforming project, why would they do a round island? You can see, like, same thing there. And I'm saying it's just part of, like, an algorithm that just does various patterns. Pseudo randomly. Kind of random, kind of ordered. Possibly. I mean, that's just a guess. I really don't know. I'm just pointing out these oval islands here. I'll do a separate episode in the future on bumps, these kind of bumps you see alongside these channels. It's interesting. Okay, so you have these round islands, and I might as well show you the some other similar stuff that you can compare it to. Here we go. So we're in Italy. This location was in one of the newest New Earth videos on the New Earth channel. She was just pointing out these thin strips of land here, and I'm going to do an episode in the near future also on thin strips of land, because I think it's weird. You have a body of water behind a thin strip of land, and then the ocean, and that's kind of a weird pattern. But anyways, these oval islands here, and I'll come back to it later and give you a better view. Just want to touch on it here. You have these, it's like a track around this island here. I kind of see something there. And then these ovals. So I count 3 of these islands here. Like starts there, goes around, and ends there. So that's worth comparing to that the circular islands we just saw. And then I'll show you a couple more circular examples. Here's an interesting circular thing, much larger scale, but again, maybe totally natural. Just worth pointing out. It's where is it? Canada. Here we are. Pretty cool. And then also in Croatia, this national park, whatever, I just noticed in this video that there's kind of a circular, what looks like a faint circular path here. So let's take a closer look at that. I couldn't get a better image, but looks like, not even like, looks like the ground itself is kind of in this pattern. You know what I mean? Like this was wet or something, like wet concrete, and then something did that. I don't know, that's not a good explanation, but it's just worth noting because it's slightly strange. Could be totally natural, but it's just interesting circular kind of path there. It's worth pointing out. Here's another circular feature. Where is this? Some island near, I don't know. I'm turned around. I think it's in the Mediterranean somewhere. Yeah. We've got this circular thing here, similar to what we were just looking at in that Croatian island. So, and the oval island and the round island, so looks like something was doing paths through the rock, or, you know, removing rock material in a circular motion. Pretty strange. Also, I noticed right here, it almost looks like there's some additional circular features, or rounded, almost like that too. You see that? And then almost like that right there. Maybe that, maybe not. See, that's kind of like the natural look of the area. It's just kind of messy rock. But here it's almost rounded, and same thing there, kind of. Here's what it looked like in 2001. And nearby we have long thin path underwater. Could be like ocean floor fishing or something like that, but just pointing it out. Long thin path continues all the way over here. Kind of lose it, not sure if it's the same path. And you see similar stuff over here. Again, might be fishing or something. Or a tool path. Here's another cool example in, where are we? Somewhere on the East Coast. I don't know, Rhode Island or something like that, whatever. And we have possible like swept coast here or something like that. And then what I'm pointing out is this gap here. Kind of. It's pretty faint and might even seem like a stretch or like I'm grasping at straws, but if you look closely you can kind of see like a faint line there or edge, and possibly there. Not super clean again, kind of messy, but almost as if something either entered or exited along this path while it was creating this bit of coast, possibly. Maybe even toolpath there. And let's look at some older photos, see what it looks like. Pretty similar. Get rid of this. Kind of see it more prominently there. Again, might be a totally natural feature. Anyways. And just down the coast from there we were just looking at this spot. Just down the way we have this right here, which may be the path of something. Let's get a good look. So along the edge here, possibly, maybe along the bottom there, and then you can see kind of a clean edge there, cleaner edge there, kind of that way. Kind of wedges out. Maybe there, it's a little messier. And with these grooves or toolpaths, I should acknowledge that the role erosion plays, of course. I just found a cool GIF or image, so I wanted to share that real quick. So let's take a look at this. It's called Erosion Over Time. So you've got, it's just a little art installation. It's got 50 years of erosion, 25, and 15, I think. So you see, here's 15 years of water on rock. Here's 25 years of water on rock. You see it forming these fairly linear grooves, which kind of undermines a lot of the stuff I'm talking about. to a degree, possibly. This is only 50 years, so you could imagine like thousands of years. So I mean, we should expect to see some grooves like this in the rock. One thing I would point out is that this is topical, or it's a local downfall of water, rather than a uniform, like the ocean over an area, or like a uniform rainfall. So this is obviously going to form a groove in one spot, but of course, even if it is uniform, there's slight variation in the surface of the rock. So you generally will eventually get some kind of groove that forms from just rainfall. And so just wanted to point out that some of the stuff we're seeing might just be totally normal erosion. I mean, I think I've mentioned that before, but it's worth reiterating. So then why am I making these videos? Because I still think, even so, some of the examples are just too weird. And I mean the oval islands that I just showed you, obviously that's not simple. This simple effect, it's man-made and could be recent, but just all the other stuff, I still, in spite of this, the fact that this could account for some of the examples, maybe most of them, I still think there's something strange going on. So I'm keeping at it anyways. So we've got this possible gap here, possible toolpath, possibly there, and then this guy here, maybe. Let's keep going. Down the way from those, we're just looking right here. Just down the way we have, possible swept area of coast or something like that, and then this path here, or so it appears. So it's like there's a path going here to do whatever's going on there, and there's looks like another one here, path going there to do that, either in or out here and here. Maybe, looks like it. It's possible, faint indication of something similar here. I do not know. Also, I wanted to acknowledge briefly the possibility that just because this was, swept or whatever, doesn't mean that this is not modern work. No conspiracy needed. This could just be modern work done in the past 20 or 30 or 50 years. Some crew working on the coast for whatever reason, and this is the path they left. And to illustrate that point, let's take a look at this video. This is a video of the Barcelona coastline being built out. I'm not sure, it doesn't specify the timeline. I would guess over a couple years or a couple decades at most. And you can see it develops pretty rapidly, and mostly with these little jetty things and artificial sandbars coming out. So again, this does undermine some of what I'm talking about, which is why I feel an obligation to include it. So let's see that one more time. Builds out pretty quick. So there's a good chance that this thing is part of that same type of construction project. Slightly different, but similar as well. So let's take a look at the historical photos and see, it looks pretty similar. This is either 1995 or 2001, because 2001 and 1995 give the same photo, or they did a second ago when I was looking. But you see 2002, you see the same thing. 1995 hasn't changed at all. And go through the years. 2004 looks the same. even so, this still could be modern work from the 1990s or 1980s or 70s or 60s, even 50s or 40s. So, not necessarily a conspiracy in all these cases, or I mean, not necessarily an ancient terraforming project. So, food for thought. And of course, this applies to every example I'm showing, not just this example. This is the one I had in my Reddit post. Pretty cool example. According to the Wikipedia article, it's natural. It's like an interesting natural thing that nature made this. I don't know what they call it, like a natural channel or something. I'm just saying it might not be natural. Kind of see, it just looks like something blazed through there. See a different photo here. And then also, it's worth pointing out, just down the way, there's more subtle but possible similar thing going on here. You can see kind of a gap here, almost a clean edge there, kind of clean, and kind of crumbled rock here. Looks like something similar to this. So something maybe blazed over or through or barreled through here along this path, possibly here as well. Let's see. You see kind of a cleaner edge there, maybe. So again, it's like along there. And possibly, all along the whole coast, but you can only see it in some places for whatever reason. I think we're in Australia. Yeah. So I like this example. I think it's pretty cool. That and this. Possibly even like this, but maybe not. Okay, let's look at other stuff. Okay, this one's pretty cool as well. We've got possible sweeps along the coast here. Sweep. And then what I'm pointing out is this gap here may be an extension of like the maneuver which created this bit of coast here, this bit. So it's like, and so there's a gap here. And then along this coast comes out this way, and you see this edge here, which seems more or less continuous with this curve here. So again, it could be a chicken egg situation where the rock is like this to begin with, and then just due to the natural flow of water, it creates kind of a natural point and curve accordingly, like around the rock, just due to the way the water flows around the rock. Could be just worth considering, I think. So next we have, I think in Australia again. So this one I wanted to include because it almost looks pretty straight, but then compare it to these other grooves which look more natural. So it could just be, pure chance or statistics that one of the grooves turned out to erode in a naturally, or it naturally eroded in a pattern which just happens to be straight and look somewhat artificial. That could be. So it's important to try to, you know, debunk the stuff I'm talking about, because, or at least try to find some false positives to give a more balanced view of what's going on. And then it's also possible that these more natural looking flowy ones are artificial as well. I don't think so. I don't know. Whatever. Somewhat clear edge to this gap here. Got the land coming out here, and then this somewhat clean edge, but it's possible that this area right here is just kind of like a uniform gradient down into the sand, and then the sand is just, you know, finds its level, and then it creates a naturally straight line. It's possible. It's a maybe. This, yeah, similar to what we've seen. Who knows? Okay. So along the coast here in South America somewhere, or Central America, we have what looks like kind of abrupt linear coast. So you have kind of a line here along the coast, continues here, like something cut alongside of the shore. See a similar thing there, just nice and straight and abrupt. So kind of going like that, and where else? Maybe even there. These aren't necessarily part of the same line, but kind of look similar. Similar there, there. Possibly there. Maybe there. Okay, so here, where is this? I think in Maine. We have these, what I'm saying is a possible toolpath there, or some type of path maneuver of some sort. Here, along this way, coming out like right there. Possibly another edge here. And then this one over here. There, the edges along through here, and edge there, out this way. Maybe. All right, nearby to that where we were just looking at is this little riverway here. I'm saying this whole riverway is artificial because we see these, again, could be modern work, but these grooves and submerged kind of remains of channels or lines or something here, going across there, and see it continuing here. Parallel grooves here. Here you see it all along the side here of this river, and this other side as well. You see these faint grooves or channels. Again, could be modern work, but I'm suspecting that there was something interesting here, and then for whatever reason, somebody came and demolished the whole river and the whole area and replaced it with a fake river type of deal. Why they left all these lines, I don't know. Sloppy work or strategic somehow. I couldn't tell you. Okay, here we have like an angular edge to this bit of coast, which suggests a possible, like some kind type of sweep maneuver along here. And then this short, wide gap here, or just kind of a discontinuity. So maybe whatever did this maneuver came out in or out through this path here. Maybe. Here's an island near Papua, and you see, so kind of similar to the oval and round islands showing before. This one's a little more natural looking, but you have this kind of possible path here, which seems to, this looks pretty natural up to this point, but and here we have, it looks like it continues like out to here. So let's get a better look. So like it came along this path and kept going. It's pretty faint, but you can kind of see it. Possibly. So the edge of this channel in Mexico, this is like I guess, I don't know if it's still the same project or if it's considered the same, but there's like a intercoastal waterway that goes like all along the coast of the US and down into Mexico. But I think it's ancient work rather than modern, or at least older than we're told. I'm sure it's maintained in recent times, but so we have this land at the edge of the channel. What I'm saying is, would you really need to, well, I guess if you took your channel digging machine, you just didn't want to change directions, but I mean, this is kind of unnecessary. You can just go around it this way or that way. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. It just looks weird. But then we have this, like, this angular kind of linear jetty thing, and it doesn't look like there's a point to it. Like, there's nobody here. Like, why would you need to build this? So I don't think you would. So then this is natural, but it doesn't look natural. So that I'm saying it's part of some older project, and probably the same project which did this whole channel. And is this channel really necessary? I mean, you could just go around this way. You know what I mean? So I think this channel, maybe this one too, are just extraneous, I don't know, part of an old machining project. All right. Okay, at the mouth of San Francisco Bay, this rock right here, we see a hole through it that goes like through this way, and could be natural erosion, but it may also be like something just barreled right through there. right through the rock. You know what I mean? So just notice that, and could be artificial. And a couple more images of that hole in the rock out in front of the Sutro Baths. So let's check them out right there. And so there's a tunnel through the rock in the cliffside here. And then this is a view from the mouth of the tunnel. And you can see the hole through the rock out there. So I'm wondering if something barreled through this tunnel and then continued out and barreled through that rock. Or vice versa, barreled through here and then kept coming through this tunnel. Here you can see the Sutro Baths. It was like retrofitted from an ancient site, I think. And I'll link to an interesting video by the Didictic channel that explains the history of this place, give you a better idea. And so there's this rock with the hole, and if you look at it from this view, you can kind of see almost kind of a straight-ish edge, although it's obscured by the top, and it's kind of a 3D render, so who knows. And then there's the tunnel, like right through here, and then I think like out there. And this is that video. So here's the mouth of the tunnel we just saw. So the rock's out here somewhere, and here's the mouth of the tunnel, and here's a better look at that tunnel. And we could make the case that the hole in the rock is too messy to be considered artificial, or too rough. But then in light of this tunnel, the tunnel's pretty rough inside. Doesn't look super smooth, but it's obviously artificial. So if the tunnel's artificial, and it looks like that, it has that quality of roughness on the inside, then it's not too much of a stretch, I think, to at least suppose that maybe that hole out in the rock was created by the same process which created the tunnel. So here's in Croatia. I just paused on this frame. You kind of see what may be some kind of toolpath there, and kind of a straighter edge there. It's possible. It could be natural. Just pointing it out. And here's another spot in Croatia. I believe it's in Croatia. Someone dipping their camera under the water to reveal this kind of old channel here, which looks pretty artificial. Again, I'm not sure where this is, so I can't really say too much about it. I'll try and find out more later. Okay, this spot's pretty cool. Where is it? Goat's Bluff Lookout somewhere, wherever. Kind of see this path here. Again, it's not super smooth. Could be natural. Could also be something traveling through there. But then we have this through the rock, and it's like, that kind of looks artificial, I would say. Could also be natural, of course, but just wanted to acknowledge that. So Goat's Bluff Lookout is here on the southern tip of Tasmania in Australia. Just to tell you where it is. Better look at that rectangular hole here. Not necessarily artificial. Here it looks like we have almost a tunnel through here, maybe. This looks like it's probably natural erosion, although kind of straight, but, or just a natural seam in the rock. Same here. This here almost looks like tiny abrasion marks going horizontally here. Tough to say. Because I mean, you have the rock layers going horizontally as well. So this photo, see this pretty clean, almost linear slice through the rock. Right here. And could be like a natural fissure, or I don't know, some type of device cut this. And this kind of looks like a marble block almost, but not really. Here you see these three possible paths here. Better look at one of them, I think. So there's some other interesting stuff in this area near Goat's Bluff. First of all, here's what that one possible toolpath looks like on Google Maps. Possible, I say, because again, it's pretty messy. It's not like a super crisp path. Then possibly here, here, and here. Or just natural erosion again. And then a possible path here. Kind of see the edge of it there, and edge of it there. Could be. And okay, so what else do we have in this general area? Over here, the sweep here, or the coast, and then kind of some land there, some land here, and then kind of a gap in the middle. That almost looks like it might just be natural erosion, but could also be a toolpath. Over here, this one's pretty interesting. Alright, so looking at this possible edge of toolpath here, like a streak along the coast. Could just be like layers of differing types of sediment, or even like seaweed deposits or coral deposits or something, you know, just eroding away. Streaks here could probably just the way the natural rock forms. But right here, so you have kind of like three different curvatures here. It's very subtle, but this, and this. And of course that could be due to the presence of these rocks here, which makes it erode accordingly. But these right here, this kind of looks like, I was thinking a possible path like right here, and then like it swept it right here and then came out like this. And then for this area, it looks like kind of, if you can see there, like that, maybe like that, maybe like that. And pointing this one out because it's similar to this example we just looked at. You know, it kind of looks like a clean sweep and then another clean sweep, or a continuation of it, and then it's kind of some lines in the middle. So that's somewhat similar to this. just because it's kind of interrupting the long continuous curve with some rock in the middle. So again, might be natural, or it might be like, I don't know, something moving rock around like it's putty or depositing rock. Worth a look, I think. Here, just one possible path here. Possible gouged out thing there. So you have this dark streak underwater, which indicates maybe something came up here and took a little bite out. Here's two clean curves back to back. This one's kind of faint, kind of subtle, but have what looks like the possible edge of a path there, maybe the other edge of it there. You know, after it did this or whatever. Right there. Maybe even here. Kind of some soft edges of possible some kind of path. I did this and then out like that along there. Could be. Here's another two kind of goofy looking coasts, or curved, clean curves back to back. Just looks slightly strange, although I could also imagine that occurring naturally. So you've got like, it's like a pinch there and there, and then there and there. I want to give a little tour of this stretch of river in the Amazon in Brazil. So first off, we have this river loop that's what I'm calling is kind of a uniform width, and then you have this angular kind of chunky feature there, and then kind of an abrupt angular end there. Just a very smooth path with these angular things, angular aspects. There's a faint right angle there. See that? Not super clean, but kind of see it. Another abrupt angular end, possibly these river loops. Somewhat, it's tough to say from a grainy picture, but there's 1969, looks pretty similar, hasn't changed much. 2013. Just wondering if all these streaks along the whole river, basically the whole, yeah, all of these rivers, the Amazon, basically wondering if that's natural or 100% natural, you know what I mean? So these streaks, not quite sure. I mean, allegedly it's from the river changing path slowly but surely over time. And then I wanted to point out this linear edge here. Kind of a clean, cleared out path there. So 1969. So I wonder if something added these streaks and also cleared out this area here along a straight path. Another kind of abrupt angular end to a loop here. And I haven't had a chance, obviously, to look at every single river loop. There's too many, but some of them look slightly cartoonish and like artificial, I guess. Angular, abrupt ends to them. Possible tool gap here. You can see the darker water where it's deeper. Could be natural. Maybe there as well, maybe not. Here we have, you know, the shore and then the rock out here, and then kind of a discontinuous line here, path. And possibly over here, got a faint path there. And maybe there as well. Like that. This one, not a super clean example, but possible path there. Another possible gap here. Okay, so just down the way we have this what looks like kind of a tooled gouge out of the rock. Came in this way and took some material out, and it kind of wedges at the end. And you could make the case that this is for like this dude's dock or whatever, like his shipping, I don't know, or you know, where he puts his sailboat or something like that, or launches it. I don't know much about boating. But then you have this over here just nearby, and it's like pretty clean edge there, and kind of a wedge, looks like. Kind of a wedge pattern there. Again, it's not super like uniform, but this edge kind of looks somewhat abrupt, so just wondering. This is off the coast of Melbourne, Australia, or thereabouts, Hampton, whatever. And you have these, this angular rectangle type feature that looks like it's emerging from the eroding sand. And also you have these little dots over here, kind of regularly spaced dots. Not quite sure what that is. Could be a fishing trap or something, but it looks like some type of structure is emerging. So let's go and look at older photos of it. Can't really see anything in this one. Nothing showing here. This is from 2006. So you see it kind of a clearer photo. See those kind of those faint dots inside of this rectangle here? Could be like some type of modern retaining wall type device, you know, to keep the sand from flowing away too much or eroding away. Could also be like an ancient structure or the foundation of a building here or something. And then you see the dots. Let's look at some more. Still see it there. See the dots pretty clearly there. This is 2017. I don't really know what I'm looking at all, so maybe you know. And close by, we have possible tool gap. So here, kind of a somewhat smooth edge to this, possibly here as well. Possible. That's not a great example, but then down the way we have, see, that looks kind of interesting there. This possible path here, see, like that, along the shore, that would make sense if these are modern. You know, they had to build these somehow, so maybe this was part of that project, or where the machinery traveled or whatever. We've got this modern build here of jetties and stuff, so I just want to take a look and see how it develops over time. See, 2002, there's nothing. Let's keep going. Nothing really. 2005, nothing. 2009, nothing. 2011, nothing. 2013. So between January and March of 2013, you have this guy. So this development can happen pretty quick. See that? Without much, and you don't see much scarring of the ground around it. So here's between March and October of 2013, or September, whatever. You see this guy up here, and then, let's see. Slowly these other features are coming in. This, that, those. And yeah, so it pops up pretty quick. And so this thing I was hypothesizing was a long tool path. Let's take a look at it in conjunction with this stuff. So you can still see it before these two jetties show up. So I don't know, maybe this was created while they were transporting material over here for these features, something like that. You know what I mean? Still kind of see it in 2013. And then it's tough to make out in previous photos. You can't really tell. And it's probably just the natural ripples of the sand anyways, not a toolpath. So just the way stuff develops, and I might even do a whole episode in the future of time lapses of modern builds and how the surrounding area is affected. Okay, so this is in Italy, and I was showing you these oval islands, but let's take a bit of a closer look at some of the other stuff in the area. You know, you've got this random straight channel here. Got crisscrossing channels there. It looks like a channel to nowhere, you know, like an eroding old path or channel. And here it looks like it started here, went around, and then went back out along the same path. That's why you see this kind of thin feature and pointy thing there. Another perfectly oval island, or rounded. That's kind of an old channel here. Similar island there. Long straight edge to this This channel there. Submerged line going across. Could be some type of net or fishing apparatus. Another similar thing here, going up onto the land. It's like the remains of something in this area, but it's not clear what that something is. See the line going across onto land. Kind of an unused channel here. Interesting stuff. All right. This is a place in China, I believe. I think we're in China. Yeah. So, it's this historical site, and I just want to once again point out the goofiness of it, the mismatch of the aesthetics, kind of, and the technology. So they have the technology to build all this, or at least the willpower, and this pantheon of silly figures. Seems just like a variation on all the other world cultures, like the Egyptian statues and stuff. Just like some nonsense. I don't think this is the work of high civilization, although it's possible, but I just think it's meant to be silly and like mysterious. And the reason I wanted to show you this picture is because I'm questioning if these tool marks are actual tool marks. Like if they may be actual marks on the stone, but it's possible that it's like embellishment rather than like how the stone was created. If you know what I mean, you've got these the larger marks and then the finer marks. I'm wondering if that's like part of the same agenda of combining stuff that doesn't go together, like to discombobulate or whatever. So not quite sure how the construction of this went down. Not even quite sure what comments to make, but other than just it sets off my spidey senses. Like, is this like a genuine construction method? Like, is this how it was done? Or maybe were these tool marks added for effect? Some type of effect. On that same note, here's the newest New Earth video, and she discusses in this park at the gate, there's this inscription in Latin, and it says, "O traveler, tell me if all you are about to see is merely art, or was it made to bewilder you?" So I think that's potentially very revealing, and I'll take you through just a couple images of the park, some weird sculptures and stonework, and the conventional history is the art was made in the 16th century by this dude, I forget his name. Here's the history of the place if you want to read it. But he makes all this, and then Sylvie is pointing out that there's the multiple different styles here. There's this 16th century kind of goofy style, and then there's also evidence of older, like rock cut ruins type type style, weird, strange markings in the stone and tool marks and stuff, inexplicable features. I think this stone, she says that no matter what angle you look at it from, it has kind of miscellaneous features all over it, and it doesn't look like it was ever a coherent piece. So it's got different features at different angles and some of the similar tool marks we've seen. But the main reason I wanted to bring this up was that quote at the beginning, "O traveler, tell me if all you are about to see is merely art, or was it made to bewilder you?" So that kind of ties in with this theory I've been discussing, that there's some deliberate confusion going on. And that idea is again summed up pretty well by these two paragraphs, so I'll read it for you once more. All of the pyramid civilizations of Earth were carefully contrived of layer upon layer of lies, skillfully combined with a few truths. The priest cult of the old empire combined sophisticated mathematics and space opera technology with theatrical metaphors and symbolism. All of these are complete fabrications of truth baited with the allure of aesthetics and mystery. Intricate rituals, blah blah blah, massive monuments, marvelous architecture, artistically rendered hieroglyphs, man-animal gods were designed to create an unsolvable mystery for the souled beings on Earth. Isby is like a soul. The mystery diverts attention away from the truth. So, and this is from the alleged interview with the Roswell alien, which again, I don't know if it's a real document or not, but it's an interesting idea related to that quote that is this artwork there to bewilder you? So it's an interesting question to ponder, and again, I don't believe it or subscribe to that idea. It's kind of growing on me in plausibility, so I think it's a plausible idea. It could explain some of the strangeness we see. More straight lines in the Mauritania area near the shot structure thing. So we've got lots of these straight-ish lines. I say straight-ish because they look pretty straight in some places. Like you see this long one. Let's follow it. Pretty straight groove or path there. See the edges of it. And then it kind of gets like wider and more sloppy or messy as it goes through here. Kind of a natural looking ravine. And keeps continuing all the way along here. But this feature doesn't look particularly natural. See, it looks artificial. When you zoom out, it looks more artificial. So, it could just be a perspective thing. But here's another one. Got this guy here. Long, very long groove. Some more of it here. It's a pretty well-defined edge of it there. Might be a natural, like, tectonic, or, you know, like a, what do you call it, fault line or something. It's just when you zoom out, it looks very kind of smooth and uniform. And then this whole area is also like, looks like cut up almost, or like sliced with these crisscrossing lines, like fine lines. You kind of see here, these grooves going this way and this way as well. Multiple directions. And they're not like perfectly spaced or perfectly straight. So it's hard to just come right out and say I think it's artificial. It does raise an eyebrow for me though, like that, and these in the opposite direction. Like these are like perfectly, almost perfectly parallel. Like you see these parallel tick marks. It's like almost like a saw blade coming down. See kind of fine lines here. Okay, this I want to spend a good amount of time on this because this is in Texas, yeah, and this general area right here, it's very strange. So I want to point out some various features. Okay, first of all, along the coast here, you've got these large-scale parallel streaks. See what I mean? Fairly uniform streaks along the coast there. Then you've got this channel going through here. Okay, cool. And let's start here. So if this is modern work, why would you need to do it this way? You've got these faint, looks like overgrown or eroding, I don't know, sweep or maneuvers or paths of something. Like could be a modern big tractor or something. Not sure why you would need to do the whole coast like this, but like, what is this thing? And what's its purpose? Like, is this jetty really necessary? So, and this thin barrier here, this thin strip, like, what purpose does it serve? And what about this? And this here, and it looks old too, like it's eroding. And this right here, I want to compare this to something we saw. I showed you on the Great Lakes. So this thing at the edge of Lake Superior, we have this guy here, and I don't know why my place mark's not there. Very odd. But compare this feature here, artificial looking groove, thin bit of land here, to where we were just looking at in Texas, like right here. See this? Just like a random channel here. And I even wonder if this barrier is modern, or if it's older, left over from something. So you have this extension of this island here, long, thin bit of land. You have this here, which is like, what the heck is this? Some kind of old structure or pattern, kind of broken in places. Looks like it's leftovers from some older era. And similar to this right here, WTF. What is that? similar to this, WTF. And actually I just noticed this. I'm not sure what all this is. That doesn't look, looks a little weird. And then here again, something strange. Weird patterns. It's kind of a faint linear path there. Just a whole weird area. Again, these grooves along on the island here. More of these grooves. And just a generally strange area. Oh, and one more thing. This channel. It's like there's like this main channel, and then there's a second channel along the interior here that like starts and stops. See it. So that kind of starts there, and then it's a possible toolpath, or for lack of a better word, I don't know. See, it keeps going there. Keeps going. Kind of keeps going here. See faint remains of it there. Keeps going here, maybe. More of it here. And whoops, I actually need to backtrack on this commentary for this whole area, because when you look at the historical photos, a lot of the stuff pops up in recent years. So let's take a look at this. This right here, 2013, 2011, 2001, 1995. See, 1990, it wasn't there. 2001, it's there. 95. 95, it's there. 2001, it's there. So, in 1990, this wasn't there. Although this stuff was there. These patterns. Although this could have been done just prior to the manufacture of this, whatever this is. And same thing with this other stuff, like right here. I still don't know what this is or why it was built, but let's check out the photos. See, 1995 it was partially built. 2001, more of it was built. 2005, more of it was built. And I gotta at least ask the question, maybe it was already there, but it's just that more of the, the ocean level is receding in this place. So we've got this, and then maybe this is at a slightly lower level, so it reveals over time, and then this reveals over time as the ocean level lowers a little bit, and then we see more of this over 2005. Over the course of a few years, just more of it becoming revealed. That's possible. I don't know if that's the case, because just looks like, although you see kind of the faint outlines of that here, and then nothing there, and then here you see it again. So let's see. Kind of a faint outline in 2006. 2008 you don't see it, and then it's full-fledged in 2011. I also considered that Google is doctoring the older images, but for some reason I don't think that's likely. So let's look at this one. Sorry, I know this is kind of boring and tedious, but I mean, I don't want to lead people on a wild goose chase. I would feel bad if my whole series was bullshit, so I gotta at least figure out where I'm wrong. So 2005, nothing. 2008, nothing. Or 2009. 2011, you see all of it. So, is it being revealed over time, or was it built? I would have to do some more research on the ocean levels in this particular area and in general. I'm kind of under-researched, so that I'm kind of just doing breadth right now. I can't really do breadth and depth on individual examples at the same time. It's just too much. So it's hard to go really deep into the history of an area and geology in general while also covering like thousands of examples and trying to draw conclusions over a large data set. See, 95, this portion of it is not there, but in 2001 it's there. So that must be modern. Once again, I don't freaking some type of industrial something. It just looks very weird. Yeah, super odd. But I'm in. What about these squiggles? Those were there in 95. And over here, this thing, let's check it out. There in 2009, not there in 95. Partially there in 2005. And what is it? It's like an island, something? Yeah, I guess just building a little something. Could be anything, government project or whatever. But yeah, by 2008, it's all built. And we see these tracks, so there must be industrial work going on around here, so. And I'm wondering about this channel now, the second channel on the interior. Where is it? Like this thing right here. This interior channel. I'm wondering if that's recent as well, so let's look. It's there in 95, it's there in 1990. So this whole channel, interior channel here is there in 1990. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not modern, but that's just as far back as I can see right now. And these horizontal streak line things, let's see, go all the way back, 1990, still there. Although that just looks like a different colored, like same exact image. I could be wrong. 95, you see, same, still there. So it's that, this doesn't appear to be within the last 20 to 30 years. Okay. How about some of these channels and bumps here? Let's see that. 1956, still have all these channels and bumps. Not sure if this is a genuine image from 1956, but just going with it because that's what it says. 1961, 1979. So I think these channels and bumps have been there a while. Here, not sure where this is, South America somewhere. Just pointing out this possible gap here, like that, and then with kind of rounds, and then you see kind of a thin continuation of it, maybe, like that. And then, of course, it needs to be looked at in context because this whole rocky area is kind of looks like that naturally. Just gonna also throw this out there that maybe the entire bedrock itself is not completely natural. Like you see these fins or dikes. It's possible. Maybe here. Here's some interesting linear features in this area. So, we've got this here. Kind of a submerged linear thing, whatever that is. Continues, pretty faint, but it's there, whatever it is. See that? Whatever. Another one going a different direction. And then see the edge of something or some type of linear feature there. And then, of course, there's this right here, this dark linear whatever it is. Maybe even like this here. It's something weird. Maybe not. But, I mean, this doesn't look like a modern jetty. And it kind of continues out here under the water. Just wondering what this is. Another similar thing here, possible channel or the edge of something. See these bumps along the edge of something. And then also this looks like some type of path. Maybe even just the edge of like a step or an elevation change. Could be. But it could also be some type of path. It's pretty faint. Let's check out some older photos. Let's see, going back to 1998. 2003, see this thing here, and can't quite see the other stuff. I think the sand is like eroding, slowly eroding away. See this thing is still here. And more of it is emerging as the ocean floor changes. See that? So this is like underneath all the sand. And then as you go farther back in time, you see less of it. Or I guess it oscillates. Different seasons, different conditions. Yeah, this thing you don't see until recently. And some of this is just image stitching, like this and that. But this one only shows up in the most recent picture. Cool. Where is this? This is Brazil somewhere. So I'm pointing out, kind of looks like scoop, 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 or sweep, sweep along the coast. Maybe, and then, so we've got this maneuver here, and then out this way, possibly, or in this way. So kind of the edge of it there, maybe. Could be. Also, I'm pretty sure I've lost a lot of tool marks, like they just disappeared, so I don't know what the deal is. Like I used to have tons of them around this area, and they're just gone. So I think it's the program. Google Earth is a little buggy. Google Earth Pro. So, oh well. and end with this one. Streak along the coast here. It just looks like a nice curvy little mound just out of nowhere on the other side too. Or maybe not a mound, but path or a gap, groove, just an area of land. Just looks out of place. Strange. Okay. That's it for Google Maps. I have a bunch of open tabs of stuff I wanted to show, so I know it's a long video, but I just wanted to share as many examples as I can. So, okay, let's bring it up. Okay, this is the so-called, this is the Corn Palace in South Dakota in the United States. Mitchell Corn Palace, and this is a 1907 photo. Look out of place at all. And it's changed a lot over the years. So you see other photos of it. So this is the source, the Wikimedia something or other. Wikimedia Commons source of the image, 1907. So this is that building in 1907. And here's a bunch of other images. So we see it looks totally different now. It's been redone several times, as people were pointing out. Let's see, when is this? This is 1892, so this looks different than the 1907 we saw earlier. 1907 has the swastika. 1892, well, this might be a different part of the building, maybe. Let's see, it looks totally different now. It's all cartoony and dumbed down, but it used to be all see, 1916, the swastika is no longer there, and it looks different. It's like they've been gradually replacing parts of it. I mean, which is understandable for certain reasons, I guess. But it used to look like this and that. So, very weird. Here's the history of it if you want to read it. Built in 1892. This is just a weird image, possibly stuff certain people get up to in their spare time. Make sculptures of it. Sounds like a party. National Park in Argentina. And these images obviously are quite weird. So, could be machine. See, it's kind of organic looking. It's kind of organic, flowy, or not perfectly straight, but it's also like very clean cut. See that? Pretty weird, huh? See, not perfectly straight. They're kind of flowing all over, but these look like vertical cuts almost. To my eye. Mount Nemrut in Turkey, you have these weird things, statue things, and they're just so goofy. It's like, I don't think it was superstitious people making legitimate attempts to portray their gods or whatever, because it took quite a bit of effort to create this from stone. So that, again, there's a disconnect between the level of technology required to create this site, which of course it just has a big pile of sand on it, and then the type of art they create. It's like designed to not match, if that makes sense. Almost makes me question Mount Rushmore. I might look into that. What's going on with that? Now you are looking at something my sister made in her high school ceramics class, and it's quite lovely, very good craftsmanship, and I just wanted to compare it to stuff like this. Not sure where this is, but just look at his face, look at his hands, look at the weird proportions. And then you see the same thing in Sumeria, ancient Sumerian art, basically everything to a degree, all the ancient stuff. Or I guess it would be the Hittites around 1600 BC, and you see the googly eyes, you see the weird proportions. It does look like my sister's ceramics project to a degree. So there's a number of possibilities. I don't think we're looking at the remains of an advanced civilization, just because why wouldn't they hire like their talented artists rather than like these cheeseball things? So it's possible that they were, just somewhat primitive like we're told in conventional history. But if they're so primitive, why are they using these massive stone blocks to create their works of art and architecture? So again, there's a discrepancy between the art we see and the type of architecture that artwork is used on and around. And that last one, you do see like a primitive stone wall. I do wonder how much of these sites have been edited later and added by later civilizations, parts added. Okay, let's move on. This video I had to include because it's just such high weirdness and more of the goofy artwork. These cows that look like they were done by a ninth grader, It's just the discrepancy between the ability to work with stone at this level and on this scale, create this many pieces this large, and then just the goofy, unrefined skill they have, or artistic taste. So it's this whole river with these broken up art pieces, some kind of knob on it. And I'm gonna, again, once again, I'm gonna throw out there that this knob and some of these weird features are like deliberately nonsensical. So, number of possibilities here. Was it that these pieces were part of some coherent structure, either here or elsewhere, and then that structure was destroyed, or that location, whatever it was destroyed, and then all the pieces were brought here or dumped here or left here? Or was it that they were created already broken looking? It's possible as well. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. but just one more strange sight that we have to reconcile with our worldview. Okay, this guy has an interesting video. It's the Ravana's palace in India, and he's pointing out these things there. And then, where else? These lines too are also carved out. They don't look like it, but they are. He's mentioned that it's like little lines grooved out of the side of it. See these right here? These are carved out. So it's like, was this whole complex, this whole big blob of rock, this mountain, was it created? See, like all of this? Or edited after it was naturally created? Or it's not clear. Okay. And then this dude, Praveen Mohan, he made a follow-up video on this one at the same location, but focusing on the surrounding rocks around the big rock. And he points out some interesting features, and he explains it really well, so I'm just going to play the whole video. It's about 6 or 7 minutes, and then I'll comment on it at the end.
Today we are going to explore this place called Sigiriya in Sri Lanka, which is commonly known as Ravana's palace. It is a very fascinating place, and on top of this rock we have some amazing ruins. But once you reach the top and you observe what's going on at the ground level, we can see some really bizarre details. Sigiriya is surrounded by a massive jungle, and we can see numerous huge rocks placed all around. To a regular tourist, this appears quite normal. It's only natural to have rocks on the ground. But if you zoom in with your camera, you realize that these rocks have been put there and have the most bizarre tool marks which cannot be explained. For example, look at this rock. It literally has hundreds of small cubes cut out of it. And on the top, we even have a larger cube cut out as though someone wanted to sit there and perform some kind of an experiment. Why would anyone scoop out hundreds of cubes on a rock that's in the middle of a jungle? This is not an isolated case. Pay close attention to what is around this rock. You can see there is yet another rock hidden, and it also has these cube marks all over it. I have spotted so many rocks like this. Look at this rock. Again, located in the middle of the jungle with nothing around it but trees, has so many cubes cut out all over it. Why? If you look at the panoramic view from the top of Sigiriya, this whole jungle is full of hundreds of these rocks, if not thousands. Am I saying all these rocks have been worked on? Actually, yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. How about this rock, for example? It looks natural to the human eye. Is this a natural rock untouched by ancient builders? If you zoom in, you can see the tool marks, the same cube marks cut all over it. But maybe you're not satisfied, because I wasn't satisfied myself. So let us go down and take a look at how it looks from the ground level. Now, this is how it looks from the ground level. I mean, look at these tool marks. This is just bizarre. We have to admit that ancient builders were doing something which is beyond our understanding. After exploring this area for so many days, I can tell you that the jungle is full of these rocks which have all been worked on. And archaeologists have no idea why these cuts were made. We simply don't understand what ancient builders were doing with these rocks. The technology behind this is so far advanced, we have no idea why these were created. And this raises a very important question. Did they just work on these rocks that were already there? Or did they also transport and place these rocks here, strategically all around the Sigiriya rock? I ask this because it appears that these rocks are strategically placed and look as though they were set up to make it specifically visible from the top of Sigiriya. Now, let's go back to why these cubes were scooped out. Archaeologists have no answer for this, but locals call them Ravana rocks and claim that originally these cube slots had lenses attached to them. It is said that lenses made of crystals were placed in these slots. Imagine how it would have looked. This would be a stunning sight to see. What would have been the purpose of this? Was it some kind of a light technology? Were they used to focus sunlight to a specific point? Today, we use various lenses like Fresnel lens, for example, to heat, melt, and tap solar energy. Were ancient builders using a similar technology? Remember, we saw these grooves and holes all over the rock face on the Sigiriya rock itself. Were lenses placed on these slots and holes as well? Is this why we see these weird cuts and slots all around? What could be the purpose behind placing thousands of lenses in clusters all around a place like this? Why did ancient builders do this?
All right, so I don't know about the lenses thing. Not sure how I feel about that. Could be, it's definitely possible. I would just highlight the idea that perhaps the rocks were placed there rather than somehow getting there naturally, placed there deliberately or artificially. And then also the way the patterns are very similar to other places around Earth, like Peru and all these other places. And again, I would interject with the hypothesis that maybe the markings and tool marks and rectangles and scoops and all that and grooves out of the rock, maybe those are all part of a gibberish algorithm to confuse and to basically just be there and be confusing. Perhaps the patterns never served much of a purpose of themselves other than to make us marvel and scratch our heads. And one last point, it's also possible that what we observe now as big boulders were actually once some kind of structure, I don't know, like a big building or something else, maybe not a structure, but something else, and then reduced by some means down to this boulder type thing. That's a possibility as well. This is a post of what is this? So I would guess somewhere in Peru. I don't know what this is, but I'm just saying maybe this wasn't part of something. Some people might say it was rock or mud that petrified around a structure, and this is the imprint. I would say that is definitely possible. It's also possible that it's just randomly features are randomly applied to it. Just give it some little stairs, give it some big stairs. That'll hold them over, give them something to study. And same thing, living stones of Sahasralinga. Just very many miscellaneous features that don't seem to, like, why? It's not a quarry, or it might be, it doesn't look like a dwelling place, or it kind of does. Staircase, kind of, a little bit. High strangeness. Tool marks, or something. Apparent tool marks, scrape marks. Nice clean cuts, some not so clean cuts. Big stones. And then it almost looks like this is, well, not cut flat, because you see these stones like ending here. It's like a purposeless platform. Could be. And you see drone footage of it over here. What was this used for? Streaky rock. And at first I thought this might be like shaved across, like a clean cross section across, like the top of the building removed. But then when you get closer, you see that the walls look fairly complete as low walls. So, I mean, this is what it looked like. So, I mean, what was it? I think it's there just to make us wonder. What is all this fudge? This is a very interesting image. Indian temple somewhere. So, there's multiple speculations here. People are wondering when this was built, because it looks so, the cuts look very crisp on the pillars. The stone looks fairly crisp, but it's enveloped in rock. So some people were saying maybe the rock grew around it, but since this looks so not weathered and fairly recent, clean cuts, the rock must have grown very fast. There's the idea from the New Earth video that rocks grow, and I think that's very interesting. And so maybe this grew and swallowed the structure somewhat. Or maybe somebody like plopped a bunch of stone putty on there and then made it look like this after the fact. So like maybe these were created in a very short period of time by the same hand, more or less. So they build this and then they plop this on top and just to make it confusing. It's possible. I don't know how, if I believe that, but I don't know how else to explain how this is just stuck in stone. Or of course there's the petrification idea, like a flash petrification event, possibly an artificial event, or maybe even a natural one, like some type of plasma discharge or something. Interesting example. Okay, so Dana Point, these images here, these tunnels, these sea caves and arches in Dana Point. I wanted to highlight these, and I found this video of these guys doing a tour of the sea caves, so I'm just gonna let it play, and there's some surrounding area you get to see just for context, and then I'll throw some comments in.
Nestled in between Laguna Beach and San Clemente, right on the outskirts of Orange County, Dana Point is a great beach community that is worth taking the time to explore.
So right here, I wanted to point out the rock in the background, how it's kind of almost a natural concrete, a bunch of miscellaneous rocks embedded in kind of a base, a soft rock base, and you'll see more of this in a second.
We're heading out to the Dana Point Sea Caves. We're gonna see if we can make it there. It's low tide right now, but this time of the year, low tide is a little bit high. After coming around the last bend, you can see the entrance to the sea cave right here.
And here you see the rock of the sea caves. It's, again, like a natural concrete, and I'm 50-50 on it. It looks like it could definitely be natural, but I'm also supposing that it's deposited there by somebody and they just kind of put a bunch of rocks in a mixer and created this concrete and dumped it on the shore, or part of some type of operation.
Can't go in without getting wet though.
I'm going in.
Inside the sea cave.
And then that type of rock in Dana Point is reminiscent of this place in Maine along the coast. So just go into this 360 photo and you see kind of a similar type of, almost like a concrete. Let's see if I can get a good look at it. See, it looks like it's comprised of many different kinds of rock. See here, it's kind of a hodgepodge of different rocks just jumbled into one rock and glued together almost. And right here, this almost looks like a strip of bacon. And see how abrupt that is. I find that strange. It's like something embedded in the rock. And again, I'm sure that there's a geological term for this, technical term, this type of rock. I'm just still throwing it into question and wondering if it was part of like a big putty that crafted much of the landscape. Okay, enough of that. This is the island of Ponza in Italy, and it has these Roman created cave system here, allegedly Roman created. And there's a couple things we can point out. These markings on the side here, along the side, could be artificial, could be also whatever, Roman or whatever created this place. I kind of doubt it's Roman. Got these holes up here, not quite sure how to explain that. And let's look at this from a few different angles. Pretty cool. Another little one there. And obviously it was a big project. So I'm saying no on the Roman. I doubt it. Just because, how and why did they carve all this out? Better look at these holes here. Not quite sure how that would have been created or formed. And these markings here, which may just be geological layers or artificial. This is Anzio, Italy. Nearby. Similar caves. And you'll see on the other side of it, they're just cut right through. So it kind of ties into this project I'm talking about, where something's just barreling through and making these holes, these tunnels. Somehow. Another look here. And there's these a lot of miscellaneous features. What look like tool marks on the side, but I would guess that they're pseudo tool marks. Like, they're meant to look like tool marks. So they were created, brought into being by some sophisticated means, and then with false tool marks added for effect. Here's another spot. And again, I can't quite make up my mind whether I think these grooves are natural, like natural erosion on natural geological layers, or whether the whole rock itself is some kind of artificial construction, or maybe a petrified mud flood, or who knows, you know. Yeah, pretty cool. And another look here. Not super clean, so, and again, this could be perfectly natural, just natural the way it eroded, but in light of some of the other stuff we've seen, it's possible that this was like devices just zooming through. Another look there, could be natural, maybe something traveled through there, or whatever. Tough to say, because I mean, it's not super clean there. Obviously the Roman caves are artificial, but this doesn't quite look like it, but it could be anyways. This is one of several Roman tide pool type things. Very strange. Some people, I was reading the Wikipedia, there's hypothesizing that maybe it was to raise eels or something like that. Some kind of coastal farming, aquaculture deal. But I mean, the level of effort and technology to, either effort or technology to create this this whole thing is, again, pretty impressive. And I would hypothesize that, again, I've said this several times now, but maybe this wasn't actually used for anything. Maybe it was just put there to as like some kind of placeholder, or you know, as one of these facade constructions to I don't know, serve some kind of purpose as a false history. Another look at the caves in Panza, these artificial features. Nice angle here. This is like kind of like a boat slip, but you see this channel here. This wouldn't be too hard to do by hand, but why would you? I mean, I guess, but it could be one of these, some device came and tooled out this whole area here out of the rock. Or I have another theory I'll be talking more about in a bit. Maybe not this video. Well, I'll touch on it now. It's the idea of a virtual pass-through. So so hypothetically, and this is a huge what if, and this is not something I believe necessarily, but what if the Earth were like brought into being at some point artificially, and then a lot of these pass-throughs and toolpaths and stuff like that I'm pointing out, what if that was like virtual minions running around inside the program creating the Earth before it actually rendered it? So that was probably really confusing. I don't think I explained that well, but like, yeah, I'll talk about it more later. Okay, and here I wanted to point out how it kind of looks like columnar basalt to a degree, or just a kind of similar look to the large trees that people have spoken about, and saying that certain mountains look like trees, like petrified giant trees, and we're talking really giant, like as if this was all a tree or some type of biological creature. It's possible. A couple more photos. You can see it kind of does look like a tree stump of sorts. One could imagine like this end scene from Avatar. See, doesn't that kind of look like something strange, like almost like a tree, and then someone used a petrification weapon on it, or petrified naturally, or man, I really don't know. See how it kind of looks like a tree looks. Okay, that's it for these. This video has a couple interesting views of the Ponza caves, so just better videos, always better than still images. Well, not always. You can see these tracks there, kind of stairs a little bit. And it's pretty, there's a lot there. You see these straight surfaces. There's what looks like natural caves, and then also these, the Roman features. So I'm not sure whether I think the whole thing is artificial, or whether it's like artificial applied to natural caves. Who knows? Just asking questions at this point. All right, cool. Okay, and this is, I wanted to just make the point that maybe some of these giant trees that people are pointing out are there's all these flat top mesas that look like they could be trees, and, you know, trees that were cut down or something like that. And just wanted to throw this out there that maybe that's part of the project I'm discussing, which I don't really understand, but maybe whatever did all this stuff to the coast and left all these tool marks and stuff behind. Maybe cutting down the big trees was part of that. You know, like the end scene of the movie Avatar, where they're just plowing down all the whole terrain, basically. And then there's this interesting post here. Speaking of trees, this is the Nisgawen ghost forest. So apparently there's many so-called ghost forests along the coast of California, and let's check out some of these images. Basically what it is these stumps, petrified tree stumps along the coast here. Pretty cool. And it's as if it was like cut down and then petrified. And these are some theories on how it was created. The stumps were unearthed when turbulent storms swept away sand during the winter of 1997. So, not quite sure how that ties into the stuff I'm talking about. Oh, he's pointing out these are evidence of significant rapid changes in coastline. So maybe this was one area that got hit by this terraforming project, or some natural cataclysm. Don't know. And I gotta give a big shout out to this guy, Nik Research, Nik Research. He made this video over 3 years ago now about grids and canals. Basically, he talks for about an hour and a half, starting at about 32.5 minutes. And he talks about all these artificial canals and stuff that I've pointed out to. And he was talking about this 3 years ago now, so I wonder who else has been talking about this. And this video only has less than 2,000 views right now. So, talks about all this stuff. His analysis is pretty good. He shows a lot of examples and speculates on a lot of the same stuff I've been speculating about. So, for about an hour and a half in the middle here, he talks about that and then discusses some other topics as well. But I did a search on YouTube of artificial coastlines, and I looked at everything in the first 2 pages of results and didn't find anything. But this guy looks like he was one of the first to talk about it, so good for him. And then, of course, the New Earth channel has been discussing some of the channel's aspect for years now. Okay, this is a dude I follow on Facebook. He says some interesting things. He was sharing this John Levi video. It's a good video. And he says, what if you go back in history to verify, and all you find is cheap plastic mock-ups, like a toy model build for humans? So I thought that was very interesting and kind of revealing. So the idea, how I interpret this is, what if many of the things we're categorizing as lost civilizations and stuff were more like facade civilizations? So it's possible that there were like organic civilizations and also you know, kind of a facade, or like something to house us, like a doghouse, or something in between resets to, you know, what if the Tartary buildings, some of them, or some of this Egyptian stuff, or some of the Indian and all these ancient impressive structures are facades of a sort, as in they're just there for show. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And he's got some very interesting story to tell. This is him basically telling the more important points of his background. I would encourage you guys to go listen to this. This is, I think, the first interview he did in 2016 or so. It starts at about 24 minutes in to save you some time. And he talks about all kinds of stuff. You know, you see the title. And he also touches on historical resets. And he has an interesting angle on it, because apparently he was involved with some of these projects. I don't know if I'm ready to say I believe him, but I have reason to believe that at least some of the things he says are probably true. So it's worth a listen. And this video of Aug's, he talks about around the 2-minute mark or so, he discusses some type of organic, original human high civilization with high technology and all that, and it was stolen from them. And then he discusses like some kind of time resets, something like that. Again, I can't just take his word for it, but it's interesting content to absorb and take into account as possibly true. And one more of his statuses that I thought was interesting and related to this. So, apparently in this reset protocol, resetting history, they would initiate the collapse of society using advanced tech as much as necessary to ensure a complete memory wipe over many generations of rebuilding and destruction of historical artifacts. If we know about the mud flood, we know they can't do it again. They moved mountains by dropping them on villages they took over. So that last sentence is pretty interesting to me. They dropped mountains or dirt or rocks on the villages they took over. So perhaps that explains some of the mud flood stuff, or some of these somewhat artificial looking things. Seems like it's a very rich process going on, so it's hard to make heads or tails of it. And speaking of dropping mountains on places, this video is Isle de la Pass, wherever that is. I think it's in the Mediterranean somewhere. And obviously it looks like the definition of mud flood, I guess, but it's this little tiny island, and so it makes me think this was the island was artificially dumped upon, or naturally. You know, maybe the mud flood was natural, maybe it was artificially initiated, and maybe it was only in some places, but it just looks like this island. These are the roofs of these buildings, so just thought this was an interesting mud flood example, so-called mud flood. Okay. One comment I wanted to make about the so-called mud flood buildings, where you see these low windows and these entrances, or these windows like below ground level in some cases, or submerged in the dirt. What I wanted to throw out there was the idea that maybe it's done purposefully rather than as a result of some type of disaster, meaning the low windows and kind of haphazard placement of the doors, or the discrepancies in ground level and window level. Maybe that's done deliberately as a kind of psychological operation to achieve some kind of effect on the psyche. One could imagine that being surrounded by buildings that are half swallowed by the earth would have at least some type of effect on the psychology of, you know, everyone walking past that on a daily basis. Some type of subconscious pigeonholing, or I guess triangulation of where you stand in the world and in relation to nature and history. So maybe, I don't know quite what the effect would be, but I don't know, maybe seeing buildings that are half swallowed by the ground puts you in a certain headspace that makes you, I don't know, more controllable or manageable or something like that. Or hey, even for benevolent purposes, to wake you up or something, I don't know. My placemarks are updated, so you can go to my Dropbox link and download those if you want to check them out in Google Earth Pro. This is a post on Facebook. This place, Chand, I'm not going to try to say it, but in India, and it's allegedly a well, and apparently these are like a couple thousand years old, and then the upper layers are like recent additions in the last couple hundred years, but I don't know if I'm buying any of it. Again, maybe the point I wanted to make here, the reason I'm showing it, is maybe it's like one of these facade structures just for show. Like, what if this wasn't used for anything? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, look at these stairs. I mean, it could have been a well, like they say. It could have been used as a well. But is that what it was built for? And is this the best way to build it? It seems very strange. Anyways, moving on. Here's the explanation if you want to read it. Pretty cool looking. Actually, I just found this video that explores the idea that many ancient sites were actually waveguides or had waveguides incorporated into the architecture. So it's possible that this site, and this is their idea, not mine, so credit to them, and I think it's pretty compelling that this site is a waveguide of some kind, like for an acoustic wave or electromagnetic or something like that, some kind of resonance chamber or something for not quite sure what, but I think that's an interesting idea. And you can see the shape of it as it compares to, I guess, horns, the stepped and corrugated structure of it. And this is another location, not quite sure where, but you see the corrugated roof in a very particular pattern that looks like it might be for acoustic purposes or some kind of waveguide or resonance chamber. So I just thought that was interesting. It's possible that a lot of these ancient sites were originally practical, and then some, the proverbial parasite entity of, or whoever that is, they came and they put all this weird artwork on it, and like the Egyptian pyramid with the waveguides, possibly the shafts could have been waveguides in the chambers. It's possible. That's not like my belief, but it's fairly compelling. And then maybe the all the Egyptian style hieroglyphs and artwork was added later. So maybe these places were initially practical, and then the goofy artwork stuff was added later. Okay, this is a place in Germany called Bergpark Wilhelmshöhe, and a couple things I wanted to point out here. So this thing, it's as if they're like blocks, like man-made blocks, but they're like kind of in this winding pattern as well, like almost an organic flowy pattern of blocks, which is kind of strange. So either it collapsed, it was something else a long time ago and then it collapsed, or something like that. And then I'm also saying maybe it was brought into being already kind of like somewhat flowy looking, but also somewhat artificial looking, like somewhat natural, somewhat artificial looking. And I'll show you a better picture of that in a minute. And then there's this strange pattern here, like what what is that? And it's just an interesting artistic choice. It's, again, kind of natural looking, but also artificial looking. Here's another picture of that. Get a better look at those. And yeah, not quite sure what to make of it. And a better look at this bridge thing again. Blocks, but they're kind of flowy as well. And it's not quite clear how much is buried under, because you see it poking out of the ground here. So it could be a very large area with this pattern here. Or maybe it's, along the lines of that idea, whoever, took over this area dumped mountains on existing villages possibly another look at it. Pretty strange. See these nice blocks, but they're in this strange pattern. So did it collapse or fall over, or how did it get that way? It's very interesting. And I'd also like to touch on the rock cut roads videos on the New Earth channel. They're fairly new videos, and I just thought they were excellent, and you should go watch both of those. Part 2 and 3 I'm referring to. I'm guessing there's a part 1. I probably already watched it. I can't cover everything here. There's a lot of subtleties and nuances she points out. You see these kind of stairs here. This is thousands of miles of rock cut. See, there's even like a left and right foot carved out here. So it's like, it's very puzzling. Very big sheer faces, and again, I can't hit on everything just for time's sake, or for brevity's sake. But these are this is just kind of more evidence, and this would be more blatant evidence that someone was manipulating the Earth, and this has been known for a while, but I just think this ties in somehow with the other stuff I'm talking about, like the linear grooves we see in random spots, like along the ocean coasts and in the middle of the rainforest. Could have been done by the same guys who did these rock cut roads. So let's just take a look at the other one. Just scrub through a few images here. And in one of them she points to like a whole field where there's these rock cut patterns in both directions and kind of random directions. And I don't know if I could find it, but it's not just for road purposes. It's like kind of large scale. Yeah, like here we go. It's like a large area of these tracks, or whatever you want to call them. And it wasn't just for traveling. See, that's why I think it's kind of like a gibberish protocol, or like a jester type operation, where they're combining practicality with kind of nonsense, or just doing it in ways that you wouldn't do it if you were trying to make sense. So it's like this super high tech, and then these sloppy patterns. Oh, and another thing I had thought of was, what if there was some great cataclysm, and then this high civilization got wiped out more or less, but there were some survivors, and those survivors had to make do with what they had, and maybe they had some advanced devices on hand. So maybe this was their, after some type of cataclysm, maybe they were using these leftover or surviving devices to create makeshift houses for themselves, or makeshift roads and canals or something like that. It's possible. I don't necessarily think that's the best explanation for a lot of this stuff. I kind of think someone's just doing it to make something weird. See this whole field, vast area of these tracks, these rock cuts. I think this is what I was looking for. So I mean, this isn't canals. It's not a road necessarily. It's a big field of rock cut, or, you know, what I don't even have words for it. We really don't. So I guess I'm just saying whatever may have shaped the coasts, if some of my theories are correct, may have done all this stuff as well. All of this. So, make of it what you will. And that's it for this. I'm also starting to wonder now if maybe some of these trails in the national parks with the stone steps and the kind of rock cut look to them, if maybe they weren't done as part of the same project as these rock cut roads in the New Earth videos, or part of the same project somehow. Obviously, they've been renovated and upkept in modern times. I just wonder if they were there already before the National Park Services had a hand in their construction.